Israel has started its maneuver in Lebanon just a few days ago, and we knew that the southern of Lebanon is really a terrorist state within a state. Hezbollah made it its stronghold. They have weapons in almost every home, rockets, missiles, and they have created those traps for the IDF because they knew that one day this would happen. We have soldiers that have been killed already. A few of them in the last week. And Israel today announced that they're going to recruit another brigade to the fighting in Lebanon. It's not going to end in the next few days, I don't think. I think we're looking into further fighting in this area. Hezbollah, on their part, has decided not to announce a new leader, as the recent three leaders of Hezbollah were eliminated by Israel. A lot of people are wondering, how is Israel so knowledgeable and able to monitor everything that is happening in Hezbollah. The reason is because Hezbollah was the biggest threat to Israel as we saw it before October 7th. And I think less resources were directed to the south, to Hamas in Gaza. So it got to the point that Israel, according to foreign reports, was able to monitor each and every phone and each and every pager and communication device of Hezbollah. They knew where Nasrallah was for a long time, and they just decided to attack right now because of the violence that we've seen from Hezbollah throughout this year. I think when you're fighting a war against guerrilla terrorist organizations that are militants and are approaching this conflict in a way of terrorizing civilians, the only way to really fight it and to fight this idea is by taking down the leadership, taking down the symbols of leadership of Hezbollah, and that was what Israel did with Nasrallah. That's what they did with the pagers attack, and now the recent elimination of the head of logistics. There was the head of intelligence in Hezbollah as well a few days ago, heads of Iranian IRGC that were in Lebanon, which tells you how involved Iran, the Islamic Republic in Iran, is in this war. So it's important for Israel to eliminate those commanders, those symbols, because this is the way to really bring down Hezbollah. You won't be able to completely eradicate this ideology of killing Israeli civilians, but you would be able to, if you are able to take down the leadership, then the organization collapses. Especially in the way that Israel is fighting its wars. Israel is trying to avoid civilian casualties as much as possible, and those pinpoint airstrikes have limited effectiveness in the fighting. You will not be able to just attack from the air if you want to really find all the weaponry. And we know that the weapons and the arms that Hezbollah has are massive. Israel has targeted a lot of them. I think they were saying between 20 to 30%, but it's still a lot. I mean, the fact that last night we had rockets coming from Hezbollah to the central of Israel, missiles, ground-to-ground missiles launch on Israel is a reminder that the organization is still functioning. We also had missiles from Gaza, and Israel is in the Gaza Strip and controlling big parts of it, but this time it was from the northern part where Israel was not controlling the area. So I think it's crucial for Israel to go on the ground. It's a big risk because during a ground operation you have Israeli casualties on the Israeli side. You put your soldiers at risk, but it minimizes the civilian casualties and it helps targeting those Hezbollah leaders that are not hiding within the civilian population, and to really minimize it. Israel could end the war in a day if they wanted to just bomb, be it Lebanon or Gaza, but it's fighting its wars in a different way that I think is really admirable. In the south, Israel is still fighting Hamas, although it's controlling several areas and several key strategic points of Hamas, including the border between Gaza and Egypt, the Philadelphia corridor, and other areas. Israel is still not in every area in Gaza, specifically not in the northern area, where Hamas has been gathering and trying to get back on their feet. And we saw it yesterday with the missile attack towards Tel Aviv, which was the first time in months that Hamas was able to do that. And it's just a sign that the war is not over in Gaza. The fact that there are missiles and rockets being launched on Israeli civilians is a reminder that there's still Hamas in Gaza. I think Israel was rightfully rightfully assessing the situation and realizing that the Hamas has been taken down in many of its abilities, specifically the military ones, but there's still Hamas terrorists and combatants within the population, the Palestinian population, specifically in northern Gaza. So Israel has to operate there, and that's why the Israeli soldier was killed yesterday in Gaza. I promise you, Israel doesn't want Israeli soldiers to be killed, but they have to take on Hamas and make sure that this terrorist organization will not be able to do what they did to us on October 7th, which is that's what they want to do. And meanwhile, we also heard that the head of Hamas, Sinwar, has sent a note to the Qatari negotiators, mediators, so that's another sign that Israel was waiting for to see if Sinwar is alive, and he is. But Sinwar is a messianic fanatic. For him, he doesn't care about the destruction. He doesn't care about having Palestinian civilians dying. For him, the end goal is to really weaken Israel as much as possible, both militarily but also internationally. And for him, it works. So he keeps the hostages. He keeps torturing Israel. And I think it would take something really major, specifically hurting the Islamic Republic in Iran, for Sinwar to understand that he doesn't have the allies that he have anymore, that Iran is not going to sponsor him, Hezbollah is weakened, and then maybe he would agree to a negotiation, which, according to American intelligence and top officials, Sinwar is the reason that we couldn't have reached a ceasefire agreement.
عملیات وعده صادق 1 و 2 به خوبی عزم و اراده و اقتدار ستودنی نیروهای مسلح جمهوری اسلامی ایران را به نمایش گذاشت تا همگان بدانند که هر گونه خطای راهبردی دشمن با پاسخی به مراتب سخت‌تر مواجه خواهد شد و در انجام این مهم ما نه تعلل خواهیم کرد و نه شتاب زده خواهیم بود.
I think that Israel right now, decision makers are considering all the options. Reports are saying that Israel plans to attack a military target and not the nuclear sites in Iran, which has received a lot of scrutiny and opposition, even from voices like former Prime Minister Bennett, Naftali Bennett, that is actually promoting the need to attack the nuclear sites and to bring back the regime decades backwards from their development of the nuclear weapon that they want to use. I think that when dealing with the Islamic Republic in Iran, we need to remember it's not just a country and politicians that want power. They're fanatics. They really believe that God is telling them to kill all the Jews and to destroy Israel. So Israel has this opportunity, and I do side with former Prime Minister Bennett on this, that Israel needs to do what it can right now, because there won't be an opportunity like this one to take down the nuclear weapons in Iran and the nuclear sites in Iran. I think that to see how the tentacles of the Islamic Republic are reaching so far to if it's Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis that also joined launching missiles yesterday at Israel. 24 million Yemenites are living on less than $2 a day, meaning that 80% of the population is in extreme poverty. And yet the Houthis are spending millions of dollars each day to attack Israel and Tel Aviv. And they're doing it because they're getting the funding from the Islamic Republic in Iran. If they didn't get the funding from them, if Iran was weakened, the situation would be much different. So I think in order to end this war, Israel needs to have a blow in Iran that would really break the regime. I think it will be good for Israel, it will be good for Iranian people, and it will be good for the entire Middle East.